Welcome. I have a confession to make. I play on a Mac. Yeah, I know, first step. Anyway, I thought I would take some time to talk a little about playing Final Fantasy XIV on a Mac. I wasn't always playing on a Mac. I made my first trial account on PC. My current full account actually started on a PS4 trial account where I actually completed the entire Yokai event before upgrading. I have a MacBook Pro Retina 15-inch mid-2015 and currently have High Sierra installed. Here's a tip. Don't just blindly upgrade to the latest OS on any computer. Some versions only exist for marketing purposes, so the company can make a show of moving forward. Many versions are more notable for what they can no longer do than what they add to your system, and sometimes the actual advancements hinder older machines. Get your security updates and other patches for your current system, but research before upgrading to an entirely new version. I play on a Mac because it's what I currently have, and this is the same Mac I use to produce my videos. In case you're wondering, I use QuickTime with Loopback to capture video and audio, Final Cut Pro for video editing, and Logic Pro for audio recording, editing, and composing music. And of course PowerPoint and Word, and I occasionally use GIMP and Audacity. One stark difference between Final Fantasy XIV and other cross-platform MMOs like WoW and Guild Wars 2 is that you can't just log in on any supported system. You have to purchase the game for any platform you want to play on. The Mac version of Final Fantasy recently switched over to 64-bit. Before I upgraded, I copied over the old client to an external hard drive. On a Mac, this is quite easy. Just drag this over from the Applications folder. The 32-bit version still works for me. We'll see how that works when 5.1 drops. I can just play it right off that drive, but it's a little slower since it's a mechanical drive as opposed to the built-in SSD. The 64-bit version supposedly requires Mohave, but so far I'm doing great on High Sierra. If you have something else open, you might notice that the 64-bit client launcher opens behind other windows. This might be a blessing in disguise, since if you try to move the launcher window before it's fully loaded, it gets stuck on your mouse. To fix this, you gotta quit it in the dock and start over. This version supposedly drops support for the Intel Iris graphics chips. If you get a screen like this, it is probably because you're using an Iris. I'm fortunate to have two GPU options built into my MacBook. Check if your MacBook has a Radeon or NVIDIA, and switch over if you can. I play in 1280 by 800, which is the lowest widescreen resolution. However, I sometimes like to raise the resolution to get better screenshots. The problem is the 64-bit client doesn't auto-detect available resolutions the way the 32-bit one did. It seems to see the resolution when the launcher opens as the maximum resolution, so the trick is to be in a higher resolution when you open the launcher. You can use the available options in the preferences, and that will give you a few extra options. But if you want maximum resolution, you can get EasyRes from the App Store. It's free and very useful. You have the Retina resolutions here, but you also have standard resolutions. So here's what you do. Launch EasyRes. Select the highest resolution you want. Open the Final Fantasy launcher. Select your playing resolution. Quit EasyRes. Log into the game. See, now you have lots of options. The 64-bit client also added a few more graphic presets. The features are pretty much the same, the higher presets just use higher settings. Maximum really is maximum, but the lowest preset, Standard Mac, which I use most of the time, isn't as low as you can go. You can change a few settings to get a very slight performance increase. Disable wet surfaces, turn grass quality off, make map resolution normal, hide shadows, use lower res shadows, turn off shadow cascading, change texture filtering to bilinear, turn off all movement physics. Turning off radial blur might help, but it's more of a preference thing. Turn off glare and water refraction. Turning off depth of field only helps during cutscenes. You won't see a huge leap in FPS, but you may notice things stay smoother in larger groups such as raids and in crowded cities. Now for some other tips. Play plugged in. You aren't going to get very far on a battery. It can help performance and power consumption to remove USB peripherals that you aren't currently using. When I play this game, the internal fan is constantly going full force and the computer gets very warm. If you are playing on a MacBook, I recommend only playing on a flat, hard surface with a few inches of clearance for the air vents. I also recommend using a laptop cooler, which is a device with fans in it that sits under your computer. You can also lower your screen brightness and turn off the keyboard lighting. This slightly lowers the power consumption and in theory should slightly lower the heat produced. I tend to keep the screen at 3 below max, lower in the dark, but then I tend to turn on the key lighting, which makes a little difference. If you aren't using Bluetooth, turn it off. If you are on a wired network connection, you can also turn off Wi-Fi. It's good to keep the Finder resolution the same as the game resolution. This makes tabbing out of the game much smoother and seems to reduce the chance of crashing. QuickTime captures at the Finder resolution, so it's better that these match. And also, it's always a good idea to keep background tasks to a minimum. Close any other apps before you play, and don't try to render high-res video in the back while playing. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments on playing Final Fantasy XIV on any platform, leave a comment in the towel section.
No, you can't say that.
Why not?
It's a trademark of the Super Carlin brothers.
Oh, okay. Leave a comment below. Also be sure to like and subscribe. These clocks are amazing!
Aw, come on, man, I'm out of here.